let's begin with the case studies for GS paper 4, which is ethics. And here is where you have most of the students which really find it very, very difficult to attempt those. Now, there are few case studies that are part of your paper, and we would be discussing about some of the key points that you have to bring in each of the case studies. So here you are head of the rescue operation, which has been a region which has been affected by natural calamity. There has been heavy damage in the region. Again, when you were there for the emergency services, there was extreme heavy rainfall and the supply chain was disturbed. As a result, people got angry and one of your team members got injured. Now, since you are heading the team, what would be your best idea to call off the operation or to continue with the circumstances? As a lead member, how will you proceed? Now, here, as a lead member, as a leader, your quality is to keep a moral upliftment for the team. If you go weak, the team goes weak. So if you are there saying that, okay, let's call off, the team would run off at the first go. So it's very, very important to maintain your moral backup and your moral support for the team. If you go back to the history, you had instances where Mahatma Gandhi marched barefoot in the roid-hit areas of Noah Kheli, even with the ground having pieces of glasses that were broken there, the glasses that were shattered there. But the part to righteousness, the part for the moral upliftment did not stop. So what we need to bring here is the spirit for the service, focusing on leadership, empathy, bringing the group as a unity. The things that could be done is calming down the masses, persuading the people that there was an unforeseen instance that happened, that this would not happen again. Give us another chance, let's do another effort. If it persists, we would give it a second thought. But as of now, since there is a calamity, it's better that we provide something. If we won't, we would go off, then your situation would be further worsened off. So those are the things that could be the things that you can convince to the common public. Convincing to your team members is where you would have focus on presence of mind. Be very, very alert if the people are getting angry, or be very, very alert to the words that you speak with the public, or have a good moral boost up for the group, where with your leadership, with your integrity approach, this could be one. Let's put a very simple example again of coronavirus in China. So if the Wuhan medical center, all the medicos run away, consider what would be the situation. There is no case, even after the first doctor who declared that this was a deadly virus and needs to be stopped, lost his life. Even after the severe agitations from the people, the medicos, the common people have been working there. The only reason being there has been a moral boost. If this moral boost runs off, if this moral boost goes off, then who would work? So that's a big question that you have to bring even for the public as well as for your team members. The next question talks about honesty and uprightness are the hallmarks of civil servant. In the past, there have been instances where civil servants have been imprisoned who were honest and have been prosecuted incorrectly. Now, would this affect the functioning of civil services, or there are measures that should be taken to protect the honest civil servants? Now, here is one thing that comes into play. Everyone across the globe who is doing some kind of work would be having a cycle of successes and failures. Now, there could be a chance where even if you are not a culprit, you are made part of it. That could be a scenario, but that does not mean citing one bad example would create a situation where you would not be doing that thing forever. Let's say, go to any profession, go to medical, go to engineering, go to lawyers, go to teaching profession. All of those professions have certain drawbacks associated to those. This does not mean that if I heard those drawbacks, I won't think of becoming a doctor, lawyer, engineer, teacher, or whatsoever. Then what you would do? So the idea is there is drawbacks associated with each thing, but citing just one example cannot bar you from that for dreaming that profession, we could say. Now, what could be done is, in order to protect the honest civil servants, Politicization of bureaucracy is something that should be checked at the first go. Reducing the political burden on the bureaucrats, giving them much more autonomy to function much more independently. Because if there is a scar on the reputation of an honest officer, it's very deadly for the honest officer, definitely. Bringing in much more transparency at each and every stage into the system, and making sure that decision making is not affected. Once the decision making gets affected, it has detrimental consequences for the bureaucratic system. So those are the things that need to be taken into account for this question. The next question was, there was a company with lot of women employees, but there was a harassment case by a senior marketing executive. Now, as one of the lead members, how would you opt for it? What are the options that are available for the women employees? Now, what you have to think here is, who are the stakeholders, what is the ethical dilemma involved, what are the things that could be accepted if a company accepts the cases, what are the things that could be on a rejection basis if the company accepts that claim. But the thing is, howsoever you are handling the situation, one thing should be very clear, that those cases should be curbed there and then itself, so that the next hiring that takes place is not affected by certain instances. Also, there should be a much more transparent system, because believing that marketing is one of the major teams for any company, those who believe in that would consider that there is no way to cut the marketing team, but definitely the role of the marketing team could be transferred to some other cases. There should be acceptance of negotiations that should take place, or resignation from the company that should take place. So those are the two options, highlighting the benefits and the demerits of those two. You have to move forward with your answer. The next question focuses on, a democratic polity is a concept of political executive and permanent executive. Now, what happens over the period is, sometimes a political executive gets powerful over the permanent executive, or vice versa, and this creates an effect onto the actual administration going into the region. And there is where again the politicization of bureaucracy that comes into matter. So, whole of this story runs around politicization of bureaucracy. Now, what are the consequences for the same? First of all, when we are saying this politicization of bureaucracy or administrative framework is detrimental to civil servants, we are trying to preserve the values, the ethics, the political neutrality, the impartiality that goes into the system. But it's not just by writing great answers in this paper, and when it comes to actual field, it's really opposite. No. Those ethics, those values should be with you throughout your lifetime. This brings in legal responsibilities, and brings in a kind of better code of conduct that should be there. What would happen if there is politicization of bureaucracy? The moral structure or the moral framework of the bureaucrats would be totally demolished. There would be a great dilemma that would come up between a personal life and a professional life. The governance system would not be considered transparent, would not be considered impartial, and the faith of the common man from the government system would go off. Chaos would happen, and there is where administration has to be at a very important stake. So, be it a natural calamity, a natural pandemic that occurs, again, let's bring an example of coronavirus, too many coronavirus cases in this. But yes, this is something that has happened of recent and could be cited as one of the good examples. So, what would happen in that situation if it is not able to curtail itself? The cities like Wuhan, which are industrial centers with nearly 20 million plus population working on industry floor, factory floors there, what would happen? There would be a chaos or an unrest, because with barren lands, barren towns, there is no day to day earning, no daily wages for the laborers. So, what would be the situation is a unimaginable chaotic situation that would occur. And this chaotic situation would lead to loss of public property. Ultimately, the people would have their anger going on to the public properties. There would be a negative impact to the civil society, and this unrest would affect the mentality of the youth, and the youth that would come up would have further issues in kind of ideological warfare, we could say, that would be cropped up. The next question is, in one of the districts of a frontier state, narcotic menace has been a major issue where a lot of money laundering, arms smuggling has been seen, and the society has come to nearly a standstill. You have lot of senior officers involved in drug mafia. You, as a women police officer, have been appointed there. How would you handle this situation? So when you are appointed, it's not just one perspective that you have to focus on. It's not just the legal issues that you would be focusing on. You would be focusing on the social dimensions, the health, the education facilities. You would be focusing on economic dimensions. If that smuggled money is caught and is invested into the development of the region, definitely prosperity can loom up. And once prosperity blooms up, what would happen? The issues of all these smuggling and all those illegal activities will slowly and gradually wade off, because ultimately if people have good livelihood, why will they smuggle? They would be happy with what they have. Law enforcement becomes very very important, and working of police along with administration is a kind of integrated system. You cannot separate the two systems. So a good district magistrate is also involved with a good superintendent. Also, regular efforts are being involved. Now these efforts would be with the help of the common people, with the help of the administration, with the help of the community, and ultimately some of the stakeholders who are involved in it, and then only you could have a resolution to the problem. The last case talks about higher concerns for effective civil service ethics, the code of conduct, and integrity measures. Now, there are few of the issues that have been raised: anticipating the threats to the ethical standards, developing the process to promote ethical values, and strengthening the competence. What are your views or the measures that you should take to address the three issues? Now, this question is much more simpler because you have three issues that are there. What you have to do is bring out the points for each of those three issues. So, let's say for the ethical standards, I say checking the issues of red tapeism, issues of secrecy as under the Official Secret Act, focusing on inadequate functioning of grievance redressal systems, biased attitude, partiality systems, or kind of elite feeling that is given to some of the civil servants should be checked. When it comes to strengthening of competence, better training, better performance appraisal, awards, honors, recognition, inclusive workforce, and competence are some of the key things that should be taken into account. And the last one is developing administrative processes to promote the ethical values. So this could be brought about by, let's say, a portal like a PG portal that has come up. So bringing in much more accountability, transparency, reducing the corruption acts, human resource management strategies that could be performance based pay, lateral entry as has come up in the cases of civil services, multiple training phases, and with each training phases associated promotions should be there. There should be internal review committee as well as external review committee that should look onto the cases, and a proper code of conduct that should be highly unbiased and should be abided by most of the bureaucrats. So those are some of the key things that we focus under all of the three heads. So whenever it comes to ethics case studies, the simplest way is don't be afraid of it, first of all. Secondly, try to place yourself as an honest officer, not just for the sake of writing this paper, but for the sake of actual groundwork that you would be doing after a few years. And thirdly, focusing on the issues. So focus on who are the role players, who are the stakeholders, focus on what are the key issues, what would happen if you accepted, what would happen if you rejected, and create all circumstances. So create all possible scenarios, and with all possible scenarios, try to analyze the positive aspects and the negative aspects of each of those. And this is where you have the best answers for your ethics case studies. We would be covering many more, and we have already covered a lot of case studies on the channel. So just go back and refer those. For any doubts, leave those in the comment section. Have a wonderful day ahead.